That's the CDC guideline. And the purpose is to mitigate further transmission of the virus. It's not to go back and identify patient zero. I understand that's people are very curious about that. I'm curious too. That's not really what contact tracing does. And the fact is, it could be any number of sources. I mean, there were, journalists who wear masks a lot who have unfortunately contracted COVID. We don't want that to happen. Nobody wants that to happen. Could have been any number of guests who have been at the White House who maybe tested negative, but then later tested positive. So it's sort of an unknowable question as to where it entered the environment. But where we go from here is trying to mitigate further transmission. And the White House Medical Unit, with a CDC epidemiologist embedded in it, does contact tracing for the positive cases that they handle, the ones that they identify with symptoms or positive tests. And then they go back and do that. And so positive cases that have been identified by White House Medical, with the CDC helping them, they've completed those. But if there are further tests that come up positive that they handle, they'll then handle those as well. For people who have then, maybe they attended an event a while back, maybe 9 or 10 days ago here at the White House, then they test positive 9 or 10 days later, their health provider or public health officials who are handling that positive test would then do that 48-hour look back on that contact tracing.
Let me ask you about the president, if I can, very quickly. Sure. It's approaching 48 hours since we've seen him in public, either photos you guys provide or on video. Will we see him in any form? Why haven't we seen him in that time, given the fact that you guys have the ability, even without anybody present, to provide us images?
He wants to speak to the American people. He will do so soon. I don't have an exact time or a definite way he'll do that. As you've seen, there have been Twitter videos that are a pretty easy and effective way for him to get out. That's certainly something that we're always considering, as putting out another message to the country that way. But I don't have a definite method or time for you at this time.
Brian, can you tell us about?
Sure,
can you tell us about who the president's been spending time with today? What advisors are with him? I know you said we don't know when we might see him, but has he shot any of those videos today or yesterday, anything like that? How has he been spending his time?
I know they've worked on one. He speaks regularly with the chief and a number of his senior advisors. Dan Scavino, we all know, of course. He speaks with members on the Hill, leaders on the Hill. He wants to make sure that our outstanding nominee for the Supreme Court, that her nomination is proceeding expeditiously, fairly, and thoroughly. But I won't get into any particular private conversations, but suffice it to say, he's speaking with a number of senior advisors and leaders on the Hill as well.
And is it true that preparations are underway for him to potentially go work out of the Oval Office anytime soon?
So we have ways for him to do that. We have PPE that we can use, and we can interact with him standing back, like you're standing back from me, and people can wear masks or goggles or gloves or whatever may be needed. We have CDC guidelines. When he's ready, and the White House and the West Wing are deep cleaned on a regular basis. So there's a way for him to work out of a variety of rooms safely when he's ready to do that. I think we saw today in the doctor's announcement that he's symptom-free, that there's antibodies that they're identifying now. It's a great sign.
Are they his or Regeneron?
Good question. I'll have to ask a doctor that, actually. But I think they supplement what your body creates, I believe. But that's really a question for Dr. Conley. So I won't speculate.
If you bring Dr. Conley out, I'll ask you.
We'll see.
Was he in the Oval Office yesterday?
He was not in the Oval Office yesterday. There were precautions set up so that he can do that over the coming days when he's ready to do that. But he was not in the Oval yesterday.
And, are we going to know when he was last tested negative, or is that just going to be?
So I think we put out the information that we've got on that, Hope had her positive test Thursday. The president announced his positive test very late Thursday, very promptly. Right, and that's the kind of timeline that we've got at this point.
Well, we're trying to be very clear. That's not the timeline you've got. It's the timeline you're providing. Obviously, you know when he last tested negative.
I don't know when he last tested negative, and I've answered this question a number of times.
Well, then, to be clear, the White House knows when he last tested negative. I guess simply put, for Americans, why can't the White House say when he
So
last tested
there's
negative.
look, we've addressed this. We're not asking to go back through a bunch of records and look backwards. We're looking. The contact tracing process is to mitigate further spread of the disease. That's kind of the posture we take. So yes, did you have?
Are we going to get another briefing from Dr. Connolly?
Dr. Connolly put out his latest assessment in writing. We kind of are making these decisions, day by day, sort of. Just as things go along, we assess circumstances and then determine the best way to communicate.
Is there a reason why his vitals were not provided?
I can look into that, but I mean, suffice it to say, the president's own words, he's feeling great. He's symptom free. And, we hope to have him able to be back interacting in person as soon as possible, as soon as it's safe. It's great news that he's now symptom free for a fairly long period of time, no fever, and he's feeling well. And we're glad to have him back at the White House.
Brian,
Thanks,
can you
everybody.
just one for me before you go. Can you just explain why he wants to come to the Oval right now? Doesn't it have to stay isolated for 14 days?
Well, we can do it in a safe way. We can disinfect regularly. Obviously, there's certainly ways to do it that wouldn't compromise anyone. And I think you may know from past research from Dr. Fauci, other experts, we're getting to a place where he wouldn't be infected with contagious anymore. That's a good thing. We're certainly, the doctors are monitoring that. We don't want anyone to be. The bottom line is he can interact with us in a safe way. And that's a great thing. He's continuing to work hard for the American people, and he's not going to stop doing that. Is anybody covering the Russiagate stuff that's coming out of ODNI? It's a fantastic story. It's really fascinating. Not fantastic, but the fact that the Clinton campaign was actually driving the Russia hoax is a very important story. So I'd recommend everybody look into it and cover that.
And why wasn't the president tested daily?
He was tested very regularly, as were the senior staff who interact with him on a regular basis.
But why not daily?
Back up, please. Oh, sorry. Full TV section. I completely spaced. I'm completely not remembering that it's sitting up here all day.
So his name is Brian
Morgenstern.
Thank you.
Brian Morgenstern.
Yes.
Thanks. And he is
He's a deputy press secretary.
Okay.
I think that's his full
okay, great, thanks.
The biggest brain fart I've ever had in my life.
I should have just grabbed that one.
I should have directed you